2021. We'll start this meeting with a roll call and determination of quorum.
Nordstrom.
Here.
Weifenbach. Here. Roberts. Stroman. Here. Armstrong. Here. Jones. Lehman. Here. Solomon.
Here.
Evans. Here. Drew. We have a quorum.
And for the record, that was Pat Jones that bellowed in on the line.
Bellowed?
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda is the invocation, and tonight's invocation will be from Pastor Ron McLaughlin, and following the invocation will be the Pledge of Allegiance.
And Lord, I thank you for the recent the rain that we've so desperately needed in our area. Lord, I'm grateful for where we live. I thank God we live in Rapid City, South Dakota, or the surrounding area. Thank you for those here that are serving on the council. I thank you for the first responders in the room, Lord, putting their lives in danger every day. Thank you for the concerned citizens that are about this meeting as well. And Lord, I just pray for wisdom and discernment and direction, and Lord, for your will to be done, and we'll trust you for that in Jesus' name. Amen.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God. Thank you, everyone. And now for the adoption of the agenda. This is where the council may adopt the agenda as written or may make certain modifications to it. I have a motion by Armstrong and a second by Stroman to adopt the agenda. All in favor? Oh, sorry. We have a member calling in tonight on the phone, so that means our votes are going to have to be roll call votes, which means someone on this council is going to continually remind me every item to do the roll call vote. So roll call, please.
Lehman.
Aye.
Solomon. Evans. Drew.
Aye.
Nordstrom.
Aye.
Weifenbach. Stroman. Aye. Armstrong. Aye. Jones.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. We have a few presentations tonight. Starting first is the Active 2 COVID outpatient treatment clinical trial. Dr. Jeffrey Henderson. Dr. Henderson, are you here?
Hello, can you guys hear me? My name is Trivia Afraid of Lightning Craddock, and I'm the regulatory official. And Dr. Henderson is unable to make it tonight. He is at our sister clinical site in South Dakota.
Could we have you take off your mask? You're hard to hear. Thank you.
Can you hear me clearly now?
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Trivia Afraid of Lightning Craddock, and I'm the regulatory official for the American Indian Clinical Trials Research Network. And we are standing instead with Dr. Henderson, and this is my colleague, Melanie White. The American Indian Clinical Trials Network is a nonprofit research health organization that supports clinical research studies in the Black Hills region. We work together to provide clinical research studies specific to our demographic area. Although American Indian is in the clinical name, our clinical research is open to all races. Moving forward, I'd like to introduce our clinical research clinician and sub-investigator, Ms. Melanie White.
Good evening. I'm Melanie White, clinical research nurse practitioner with the American Indian Clinical Research Network. Next slide. The current trials we are doing at American Indian Clinical Trials Research Network include Active 2, which focuses on the treatment of COVID-19, and Prevention, which is vaccines. And I'll tell you a bit more about those in a few more slides. But first, I'm going to start by giving you an overview of drug research. Drug research starts in the lab. We find an agent that works in the lab, then we move on, we do animal testing. Once we determine that it's safe in animals, we then go on and do human testing, which is what we do at the AICTRN, is what we call it. These are the different phases of clinical trials. The first phase involves a small number of healthy volunteers. We are looking mainly at safety then. The next phase involves hundreds of volunteers, where we determine the most effective dose for the medications. And then phase 3, which then goes on into phase 4, lasts for years and looks at long-term safety and efficacy of the drugs. This slide just shows us some statistics from the 29th of April in South Dakota, showing us that there is still a need for us to have treatments for COVID-19. So Active 2 stands for Accelerating COVID-19 Therapeutic Interventions and Vaccines. It's a collaboration between public and private entities who have pulled together to expedite the production of COVID-19 treatment and vaccines. The public entities include the CDC, the FDA, the National Institute of Health, the DoD, to name a few. And the private entities are the drug companies that are making the drugs that we're testing. There's 3 arms to Active. Active is the preclinical arm. Active 2 is outpatient, and Active 3 studies drugs for hospitalized patients. At AICTRN, we're doing Active 2. So Active 2 is a master protocol that has been formulated in order to study different drugs from multiple different manufacturers. We do the gold standard of research studies, which are randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled studies, which you probably are wondering what that means. If a patient comes into our clinic, they are randomized by a computer program as to which study drug they receive. They're then further randomized as to whether they receive placebo, which is an inactive substance, or they receive drug, and they have a 1-to-1 ratio of whether you receive placebo or drug. And then the placebo-controlled just means that we are comparing the results with placebo. Next slide. Whether the drug is effective or not will be determined statistically by gathering data from the participants in the form of blood tests, testing for COVID-19, monitoring symptoms. And as you can see up there, we have different agents available to be tested. So when a patient comes into our clinic, we'll determine whether they are eligible to be in our trials, and then we determine whether or not they are high risk for progression to severe disease, and that determines which drug they can receive. So you can either be treated with an IV infusion, an IM injection, or an oral agent. And one of the things that is very exciting about this study is the outcome could be that people who are diagnosed with COVID-19 could go to an urgent care clinic and get a course of pills, just like you would get for strep throat. These are the patients that we're looking for to be involved in the studies. They must be over 18, must have been diagnosed or have a positive COVID test within the last 10 days. You can't have had symptoms for more than 8 days, and you have to have symptoms within the last 24 hours. So that's the treatment arm. This study is the vaccine trial that we're about to roll out. We don't actually have the finalized protocol for this study yet, but this is what we are expecting it to look like. This is a vaccine that was developed using the same proven technology as frequently used influenza vaccines that are on the market now. So it makes it more appealing to patients who were more hesitant to take the mRNA vaccines. It is a 1-to-1 ratio of whether you get placebo or whether you get the actual vaccine. We're expecting it to be 2 injections, 21 days apart. And the difference with this study is that after 45 days, we bring everybody back in, and everybody who got placebo will get the actual vaccine. So at the end of it, everybody will have gotten the vaccine. So I'll hand you back over to Trivia, who's going to tell you about our recruitment process and how you can get more information to be in the study.
So being that there are 2 clinical trials that we are doing at ACERTN, or the American Indian Clinical Trials Research Network, for the Active 2 study, these are some of our marketing materials. We have a palm card, the front and back here, as you see, and then there's a door hanger. So our recruitment and marketing materials are in the form of billboards, door hangers, palm cards, and brochures. And currently the clinical trial site has 5 locations where our marketing materials are located in Rapid City. There are 3 ways to get more information about our clinical trials. As you see here, there is a riseabovecovid.org, there is a scan code, and there is a 1-800 number. On our brochures, you'll also see that there's step-by-step wording. It shows you here, this is the back side of the brochure. How to join the study will be number 1. What the study is number 2. Who can be in the study, and number 4, what happens during the study. So you can see that there's graphics on here that people can easily understand. And this is our billboard marketing for Sanofi. We're still working on this, currently still working on it, still tweaking it and whatnot. Most likely we're just going to have our Rapid City Clinic phone number and address on it, which is 605-939-3626. Our materials are still in the process of being made, especially with our second trial. And here's some more information about the active 2 that we're currently doing right now. Again, you must be 18 years or older, have tested positive for COVID-19 within the past week, which is, we were shooting for 6 to 8 days. Experiencing at least one of the COVID-19 symptoms such as fever, cough, shortness of breath, sore throat, body pain, fatigue, and headache. Again, here are ways to reach this current study, which is the active 2, which is by the awesome scan code that everybody can use using your cell phones, or riseabovecovid.org, or the 1-877-345-8813 number. Here are some of our references. And our address, our clinical address is on 1717 Meade Street, Suite 100, Rapid City, South Dakota, local 57701, and our telephone number, along with our fax number. If you guys have any questions, I would like to turn it over to our clinician so she can better answer any questions that you may have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you both. And the next presentation tonight is Pennington County Housing, Brian Akbach.
Honorable Mayor, council members, thank you for giving me a few minutes to speak about this tremendous resource we have in our city and our county, Pennington County Housing and Redevelopment Commission. My name is Brian Akbach. I'm pretty much a lifelong Rapid City resident, and I am the executive director of the Pennington County Housing and Redevelopment Commission as of January the 1st of this year. I've been with the Housing Authority for 23 years, and I have after 23 years, I think I still have a passion for the service that we provide to this community. We are a public housing authority, and I don't know if you know this, but we were created in 1971, so the Housing Authority and I really share the same birthday. We both turned 50 this year, and we are here to serve the rental needs of the low-income families in our community. The 1972 Rapid City flood really accelerated much of the work that had begun in 1971, and the Housing Authority ended up being a key partner with the city in the city's recovery after the flood. The Housing Authority has grown over the past 50 years and currently has the capacity to serve 2,066 low-income families, and we inject into the local economy $15.5 million a year. We run 2 major programs. The biggest program we have is the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program. That allows 1,417 families to go to the private market, and we subsidize their rent in those units. So a landlord in the private market would get a portion of his or her rent from the tenant, and they would also get that subsidy from us. Again, that serves 1,417 families. The average income of the Section 8 family is $12,500 a year. That's not much income. We're talking about families on average having about $1,000 of income per month. And if the standard, this kind of the standard that's been established, is that families should really spend no more than 30% of their income towards their rent and utilities in order to have the discretionary funds to be able to pay for the other things that are important in life. So that means that rent and utilities for these families should really be at $300 a month or less. Our second biggest program is our public housing program. We have 500 units of public housing. Some of them are very recognizable. I don't think anyone can drive through Rapid City and not recognize the 3 white high-rises in Rapid City. But we also have some multifamily and some scattered site public housing available to residents, families in our community. The average income of our public housing families is $15,000. There's a little bit higher income, but it's, again, I think we can all agree that that's not great. But the income limits for public housing allow us to go to 80% of area median income, whereas the Section 8 program that I previously mentioned, that's only at 50% of area median income. We've also, since the 1990s, or back in the 1990s, we developed 3 additional properties. It consisted of 100 units. And while these properties don't offer any type of subsidies, we have worked diligently and have tried to be creative in keeping the rents low because there's still this need in our community for rents, even without a rental subsidy, for those rents to be low enough so that families have a fighting chance to pay, again, a rent that is sustainable for them. So the income limit, even for those properties that we've developed, is 80% of area median income or less. We, as a housing authority, and myself, I'm currently participating in a lot of community conversations regarding how we can best serve the unmet needs of low-income families seeking rental housing opportunities. As you know, the needs are deep and the needs are wide. What we're seeing in the market with regard to kind of an inflated price of home sales, that's also bleeding over into the rental market. We're seeing that the supply of housing does not meet the demand, and market forces are driving this. And so I think that what we recognize is that the best way to combat that is to increase the supply of affordable housing in our community. Over this next year, our commission will look for opportunities to develop so that we can be a contributor in increasing the much-needed supply of dwelling units in our great city. I thank you again for this opportunity. I invite you to contact me if you are in need of any information, and I look forward to working with the city and addressing our common cause of maintaining affordable housing for low-income families in our community. I'll open it up for any questions.
I have a question.
Darla Drew.
Yeah, hi. Just our last meeting, we had a presentation by 211. Now, so if I have someone that calls me that needs rent assistance or something, and they call 211, are you the people they end up with?
We would be one of the service providers on 211.
Okay, so just that I know. I don't know how these connectivities happen here.
Yeah, my understanding is 211 is really kind of a stepping off point, if you will, with regard to all of the services that could be out there. Annually, we update our information on 211 so that we maintain one of those community resources on 211.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next presentation tonight is the Sioux Park Tennis Court Group presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, councilmen, and women. I'm Liz Hamburg, and I am a volunteer representing the United States Tennis Association, the USTA, which is the national governing body of the sport. The U.S. Tennis Association has 17 different geographic sections, and Rapid City falls into the northern section, along with the state of Minnesota, North Dakota, Wisconsin, and a little bit of Wisconsin, and all of the state of South Dakota. We are headquartered. Our section is headquartered in Minnesota on the Vikings Lakes campus. I've served on a variety of committees, sectionally and nationally, and on the board of directors for the past 13 years. I am the current past president, and I'm now serving as the national delegate. I want to thank Dr. Alicia Scott Thornburg, Ainsley Scott, and Bella Scott for this presentation preparation tonight and for the invitation to speak. But I'm here to share some national data about tennis. And these are our national figures. Early in the pandemic, tennis was identified as one of the safest activities to take part in. You're outside, for one thing, and you are 78 feet across the net from your opponent. And people came out in droves during the pandemic. The number of tennis players increased during the past year by 22% nationally. We have over 21.5 million tennis players now. The people that were playing tennis before were continuing to play and play more often. And they were all playing in our parks. The tennis has grown so much in our parks. It is the focus of the U.S. Tennis Association sectional and national leadership right now. Bottom line is that tennis is growing. USTA is focusing on our parks, and that is why the U.S. Tennis Association Northern Section provided a $10,000 grant to the city of Rapid City for the study of the Sioux Park tennis facility. We want to make sure that when work is done, it is done correctly, it's done well, and it's going to be sustainable. Parks are free. They're accessible to everyone. Preschoolers, senior citizens play tennis, and people with special needs are playing tennis. Tennis in our public parks is affordable. Scholarships and grants are available to those who need assistance with instruction or equipment costs. And Sioux Park is one of the best outdoor facilities in our northern section and nationally. With Rapid City as a family vacation destination and with 2 outdoor 12-court facilities, we have a prime location to host summer events for players within our section and for players nationally. The Rapid City has previously hosted national junior tennis tournaments. In 2011, I worked to bid for and we managed our first national junior tennis tournament in Rapid City. We had 120 tennis players and their families from 29 different states. The Sioux Park Tennis Complex serves Stevens High School, West Middle School, the Summer Parks Program, the USTA Summer League Program, and is free to anyone to play with their friends or family. And so now I want to turn this over to Jason Olson. Sioux Park is his second home, and Jason is recognized by the U.S. Tennis Association as one of the largest and most successful school tennis programs in the nation. Jason.
Thank you very much for you guys, the council, for allowing us to be here today. I started playing tennis at Sioux Park when I was 11 years old. Back then, if you don't know Sioux Park, they used to flood it and make it an ice skating rink in the wintertime. And that caused some of our problems from the beginning. We got Sioux Park redone years ago, and immediately within a few years, we started to see that cracks were coming. And we didn't have post-tension back then. We didn't have the post-tension capability back then. When Parkview came, things changed, and we figured out that there was a better way to build these courts. And we put Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid on Sioux Park. We had a major reconstruction about 5 years ago, or not reconstruction, but a major, like more than just a normal resurfacing, and they told us it might last 5 years, and we had cracks within a month or two. So it just wasn't working. We knew the land wasn't there. Well, last year when COVID came, our tennis lessons were the largest city tennis lessons that we had, and we didn't do them. I did them by myself, kind of rented the courts, got my kids to work, and we had our largest group of kids playing, and we saw how the courts are growing. And I had a little kid just say, "What's up with all these cracks?" And they just kept coming. We were getting cracks from places we never had the cracks before. And you can see from some of the pictures up there that we just had an amazing summer last year. And I keep saying, if we don't do something about these courts, it's not going to continue. They're going to become unplayable. In 2019, we had another national tournament. We had people from 36 different states here, and they all loved Rapid City. They thought it was just amazing where they came from. Go ahead, click. So many people use those courts right now. Stevens boys and girls, Rapid City Christian boys and girls practice there. That's over 130 kids. We have a ton of senior groups that play there for free. They're not official groups, they just come play. I always keep the courts open for the seniors in the morning. They come at 6 a.m., they're there when I'm there, and they play. Well, a couple years ago, we had a gentleman that did fall, and you know, we just, every time we see that, just a little bit more worry comes. And we have so many people, the Black Hills Tennis Association, of course, our Park and Recs, tennis lessons are all out of there, 4 senior groups, the USTA leagues, the Black Hills Tennis Association runs tournaments, and we had the biggest growth of tennis last year than we had seen in a long time. They were worried about tennis going down, and the thing with COVID, I think it really changed how people could do it. Our high school season, we got through the entire season without anybody getting injured, anybody getting COVID, and so it was a really good year for high school tennis last year. In 2018, the Black Hills Tennis Association awarded 10 scholarships. 2019 were 10 scholarships, and this year we just had a big tournament that I helped run with the Black Hills Tennis Association, a different fundraising event for over $6,000, because there is a stigma about tennis that it's a rich man's sport, and that is so untrue. The Park and Rec are people that just come from anywhere. I taught at North for many years, and I had a tennis program there. I had kids that played at Central. A couple kids went and played college tennis. We have kids from everywhere that play at Sioux Park. When Karen Olson and made us a couple years ago do a study for the lights, we found that 90% of tennis other than high school tennis was played at Sioux Park. Of all the other facilities we had in Rapid City, everybody came to Sioux Park. And so these scholarships that we're doing right now, we're giving more accessibility. Anybody can't just get the scholarship. It is for people who cannot afford to play tennis, because we want anybody to have that opportunity. We also have a group from the Special Olympics that does tennis there, and they're going to be doing a group this year through the City Rec program with tennis and possibly hopefully using the pool. And so it's growing, and we're going to keep having more different groups use the courts. But you do know it is a problem, and if we don't do something, we're going to lose these events. We already know what's happening with some of the other state events going to Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls would love to have everything, but I'm born and raised in Rapid City. I'm never going to leave Rapid City, and I don't think anybody that comes to this place ever says, wow, we would rather go to Sioux Falls than Rapid City. It's a beautiful facility, it's a beautiful community, and they don't just come to Rapid City, they go everywhere around Rapid City. But if we don't do something in these courts, and I know Liz can speak from USDA, we would not have hosted the national tournament last year. Our courts were not okay for that. So right before the girls' state tournament, we got people to come out and fix our courts. Our girls' tennis program raised the money. It was around $4,500, and the guy said those cracks will be here in a month, they'll be back, and he was not wrong. And they're back, and they're even worse right now. Our courts are getting to the point that they're not playable. For safety reasons, somebody's going to get hurt, and it's going to be serious if we don't do something to fix these cracks and fix. The ground is shifting, and we know that. Our FMG engineers can speak on that as well, but we know that we have to do something, and I don't think it's something we can wait 2-3 years to get done. It's something I strongly believe we have to get done sooner than later. When it rains, you have a lake at Sioux Park. We joke in the summertime, my summer staff, a bunch of them are out there standing, we call it Lake Sioux Park because the water sits and it has nowhere to go. And you can see the cracks and some of those things. Those are just, we have almost feels like mold spots that are getting where the water just sits. And you can see up on the picture there. And it's dangerous. It's slippery, and we had to put some serious chemicals down to get that off before our last national tournament because we were afraid someone's going to slide in there and run into that pole when they're running and get hurt. And it's all over all of the courts where the water sits, and there's nowhere for it to go. And you can see the cracks coming right off of the courts. Keep going. We have a low spot over on court 7 that's dropping. It's not a sinkhole. We don't want to use that word. But that's what people think it is because it's dropping. It's almost an inch or two lower than the other side of the courts. And it's a hole, and it keeps getting worse and worse, and that's where the water just sits, and it becomes a lake. We also have places where the picnic tables sit where they're dropping. They're a few inches lower. The concrete is shifted, and it's not getting better. It keeps getting worse each year. Our fence, as you can see right here, it's falling apart. And to have such a beautiful facility to fall apart is almost becomes an eyesore for us. And as you know, this is a huge project of mine. I do live there. I'm there all the time. This has been my 34th summer working for the Park and Rec program, and I've been doing Stevens tennis for 28 years, and I played there. So I do see it every day. Our lights, you know, we do know we need an upgrade. We have great lights, but it's time to save the city money to put LED lights on there, which will be huge. This money that'll save us in the long haul will more than pay for itself. We did have the largest girls tennis team in the section last year. You can see them there. We had 52 girls out for tennis. And we had all those girls came out for tennis, the majority of them, they came out for tennis because of our summer lessons last summer. These were kids that have never played tennis in their life before. They were not country club kids. They weren't playing indoor kids. These are kids that just wanted to learn to play the game, and they came out. I'm expecting over 60 girls for tennis this year, and I think Rapid City Christian had about 30. You know, that for how small their school is, that's a lot of kids playing tennis. We generate a lot of money. The last time we put these courts in, the money that the Visit of Rapid City, the chamber at that time, estimated that we paid for those courts in the first two state tournaments we had. The state tournaments, and with the high school tennis alone, brings in about $2.146 million. And those numbers came from Julie Jensen from the Visit Rapid City, how many people that come into these state events. And that's just the high school events. With the summer tournaments and stuff, you're talking close to around $3 million that we bring in. And that's a return on our investment. And if you do that every year, these courts will be paid off. Just what I talked about right there. And we have an option to get more tournaments. We've never got any big adult tournaments. Well, this year we do have a tournament coming at the end of July that's run through the city and the Black Hills Tennis Association. We're expecting to have about $12,000 to $15,000 in prize money and people coming from all over. Matter of fact, the Big Ten, 4 of the best players in the Big Ten played in this tournament last year, and it's going to even grow bigger and bigger. But even those kids said, what are you going to do to your courts? Are you going to fix these? It's a beautiful site, but you got to fix these courts. If you fix these courts, you don't know what you're going to get. You might get a higher level tournament. You might get 100 and some of these pros to start coming because they love coming to Rapid City. We did, as we said, we raised a joint issue between the city and the Black Hills Tennis Association and the USDA to get $10,000 to get the study going, because we know this is serious, and I know the Park and Rec Committee knows it's serious, and we've got it started, but I just do not believe that we can wait. I don't believe we can wait to go through the vision process and keep going, because 3 to 5 years when they get done, they may become unplayable by then. And if we lose the state tournament and get it, Sioux Falls is building a 12-court complex. If we lose the state tournament, we're not going to get it back. And that does bring in a lot of money in when we aren't seeing money in Rapid City. So again, our focus is city liability due to possible, we know that somebody could get hurt. You know, it is a return on our investment for additional tax revenue. And the last thing is, how many people are using those courts? We don't want to lose these big tournaments. We don't want to lose the state tournament. Matter of fact, the state voted to have state in Rapid City every single year because we do such a good job running it. But after our courts got to the case, they came back and they said, you guys can't have state every year. So then they were going to go every 3 years. And luckily, the other coaches across the state other than Sioux Falls said, no, we love Rapid City. Let's let their courts get fixed. We want it in Rapid City. If we do get these courts fixed, we may end up having the state tournament every single year, both boys and girls, because nobody will have a complex like us if we do it right. In summary, we request that the city COVID-19 funds be utilized to update and renovate Sioux Park. For the safety and support of our city's patrons, please approve the FMG proposal and grant the COVID-19 relief funds for this project. We appreciate you giving us this time and the effort. I'd like to thank Leisha and her family and everybody that put together. We've been spending a lot of time on this. I've been dreaming about this for 15 years to get it fixed, and during the girls' season, she just asked me about more shade, Leisha did, and I said, oh yeah, more shade, but... And then we went from there. So I thank you. If you have any questions, I know we have Kyle's here too to help us out there. Yeah. Go ahead. And here's the final picture that you can't really tell, but this is what Sioux Park will look like when it's done if we get everything that's on this form. Nobody will have a facility like this. There'll be no public facility maybe other than Orlando's USDA facility that'll be of this quality, which means we might be getting level 1 tournaments, which could be kids from all over, everywhere. I mean, we could only grow if we do this right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There's a few council members that want to speak here. Darla Drew.
Thank you. I have been working with this tennis association for a while now, and I thought this project was too important to wait for vision funds. I really wanted to get this in on the money that we'll be talking about in the next couple weeks, and for projects that are going on in our city. If you got $2 million next week, how long would it take you to fix that? Fix the tennis courts?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but go to the mic so that we can get you on record.
Hi, my name is Kyle Hansen with FMG Engineering. I don't believe that I'm the appropriate person to answer that specific question as far as how long.
Ballpark, 9 months, 2 months?
9 months at the top. Yeah, it'd take a couple months for design and then bidding and award of, the project. You're looking at 9 months.
Okay. Okay. Well, I just find that it's really irrational that we should fix everything else and we have let this go so long. I mean, this is a multi-age, multi-gender facility. We have given so much money to the Boys Club, and I mean that by boys sports here in Rapid City, and I would really like to see this project go through because girls play. And we wouldn't let this happen at the rec center, I don't think. We wouldn't let this cracks happen at the golf courses and cracks at the baseball fields and make them unplayable so that the families had to go in and fix them every year. I think that's really irresponsible. It's irresponsible. This is our park. This is our park. This is the city's responsibility. And I think that we should take care of it. And it brings in a great deal of money, as Jason just said. And it's also the liability that we're looking at here, people. If somebody gets hurt on that, that's us. That's a city. That's not them. That's our city. We're going to be in trouble about that. And we've been putting Band-Aids on this year after year, and I'm not sure why that is. I would like any of those kids that have masks on to come in, please, for just a moment. Come on in. This is what you're looking at, people. This is our future. And if they have some fun things to do here, maybe they'll stay around. Come on in. Okay, you can just fill in right this way. Just walk this way. Go across. Okay. Look at these guys, council. Come on. Keep going. Keep going. Gonna fill it up here. Look at this. They're worth it. They're worth the $2 million. They're worth the money to fix these tennis courts. And they cared enough to show up here tonight. Not many young people show up at council meetings. So I thank you, each and every one of you, for being here. It's important, for the city to see your faces when you're young and you're still, you still want to be here. We want you here. And we want to show you that by getting some money into this project. So I want to thank all the people from the Tennis Association and all the young people who play for being here tonight and making this a better community. Thank you, Jason. I yield.
Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Olson, you caught my attention a little bit with the opportunity costs on other tournaments that we're not getting, the adult tournaments. Can you talk a little bit about what the possibilities are there?
Well, a lot of our leagues are our Black Hills Tennis Association. We have leagues in different USTA leagues, and they go play tournaments in other places. We've never even attempted to host one of these tournaments. And we started talking about it last year. And actually, Christy Lentz, who used to help run our major tournaments and stuff, she's now at the golf course. But we started talking, why don't we put in for some of these? And I know it's something that's available because a lot of places have them, and we don't know why Liz can speak on that too, because she works at the section and knows the
Yeah,
answer.
I'd love to hear Liz's
Yeah,
thoughts.
there are a variety of, there's a National Public Parks event that takes place every year. It's been held in Sioux Falls twice. We've not held it here. It's certainly something we can bid on. There are national level 3s that are happening every quarter, and we could certainly bid on at least 2 of those because of the seasonality of our courts. There are USTA league team events that take place, both for juniors, for the kids, and for adults that could be bid on through the USTA. So there's a lot of opportunity there.
They asked, I'm on the junior team tennis committee for the section. I'm a volunteer on it, and they asked me, wasn't Rapid City bid for it? And I said, we're not ready. I said, well, if we get our courts done, because I told them our meeting, we have Zoom meetings all the time with people from all over the section, which is, Wisconsin and North Dakota and Minnesota and South Dakota, and they said, well, bid for it when you get here, because we've been there. We love Rapid City, and we went to Shakopee, Minnesota came about 15 years ago and played out here, and actually the entire 25 people stayed at my mom's house. She found out the hour before they were coming. But she said, sure, I'll take them if you know my mom. And but they loved it, and they said, we'd love to come back. And they said, why don't you bid for it? Because it's always in the cities, because so many teams are there. There was 100 and some teams. A lot of these kids went with us last year. We take them there all the time. They're like, why doesn't Rapid City bid for it? No, we don't have the outdoor courts like you guys do, your 2 12-court complexes, and that would be that's like a week-long event. And it would bring a lot. So we have options, that we can do, but the adults are something we have a few adult tournaments in the summertime, and the one that Matt runs there, and I'm going to be helping with this year. Again, we were great, successful tournament last year, going through the COVID time, and now we've started like a tour. There's a tour of these kind of smaller pro tournaments, and we're one of the destinations for it. Sioux Falls, Rapid, Fargo, and Bismarck. Yeah, those are the 4, and they're going to all go around, and our tournament gets bigger and bigger. We're trying to build it up because we want people to see what we have, but we want to have the facility to be able to bring them in for it.
When folks think of Rapid City who are not from here, you want them to think play and fun. That's why people vacation here. That's why some of us live here, because I just want to have fun all the time. So I think it's important to protect our asset, and that's what we have with Sioux Park. That real estate that we have there and our investment in there is worth protecting. I do believe that. I will say this, I'm pretty open to this so long as we take care of our police and fire. That's my big thing as we look at our funds. You should just know we have to prioritize things, and we need a fire station 1 downtown and police precinct on the west side serving the south side. Those are important things. But if we can take care of those essential things, this is a great investment that helps people of all walks of life. I appreciated you pointing out the fact that tennis can be branded in socioeconomic terms. Having been one of those kids who grew up without a lot, I did play tennis not very well. I should take lessons from you. But as long as I had a racket that I got at a rummage sale, I could play tennis. I just needed a friend, and somebody to play with. And that was always really pretty cool. So great job for you to all these years of all the kids that you've coached and taught. Very impressive. Your reputation precedes you. You made an impact. I know you'll continue to do so. So anyways, I'm open to this project so long as we take care of our essentials. I think there's possibility here. I yield. Thank you.
Ron Weifenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I concur with some of what my council members say, and I think that it's obviously a worthy project, and I stayed in Rapid City because of my young children. I had an opportunity to leave and work with a large company and make a lot of money and leave, and I want to say something to Mr. Olson tonight, that I believe that he's probably one of the most unrecognized for his efforts in youth sports in our community. Well, every time I see him, I probably tell him that I appreciate it. From girls, boys, rich, poor, black, white, Native American, didn't matter to Jason. None of it matters to him. He's got the biggest heart that I've ever seen in youth sports in our community, and I'll put him up against anybody that I know. And we appreciate that. Just the thought of you even showing up here tonight, to me, gives this plan as much credibility as I need to say that I'm going to stand behind it I think it makes sense. I know you give your heart. I mean, your family gives up a lot. They give you up. I mean, it's incredible. You know, I'm talking 30 years plus that he's been involved. I mean, we talked a little bit about girls. Girls softball there's 1,000 girls playing softball today, partly because of Jason Olson starting what they called the Flames organization, girls fast pitch softball. Now there's 1,000 girls, Jason. 1,000 girls playing on those fields over there now, just because of your vision of what you've seen in youth sports in this community. And I just can't say enough about that. And I think that your payback is when these kids come back to you and say, you know, thank you, we love you for what you did for us. You gave us a chance. I mean, yeah, is there a lesson to be learned? I think a lot of coaches, a lot of people that deal with young people in the community could learn from you if they just watch you and emulate the things that you do for our community. The tennis courts are, you know, $3 million versus what you've done for our children in the community, from North Rapid to West Rapid to everybody in between. Is just remarkable. I'm very appreciative of what you've done for our community. It's makes me proud to be part of the community when there's people like you here. And I know that doesn't attest to what we're talking about, but I'm just saying I believe in you enough that I believe this is a good cause. I think at some point the council is going to have to come to some sort of conclusion on how they want to fund it. It obviously needs to work, and there's people like Alderman Drew had alluded to, girls, boys, rich, poor, whatever, getting over that hump of realizing when I was a kid, thinking that I could never play golf because, you know, I'd have to go out and try to find my next dinner sometimes, you know, and I just, you know, I could never even imagine playing tennis. But today, you've bridged those gaps. You bridge those gaps of basketball. I remember going to North Junior High, watching you coach relentlessly, taking these kids, driving them, and then even taking them on trips to other countries and things. I know this wasn't the time, but I wanted everybody here to hear it.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, and I'm gonna yield to the rest of my colleagues. Just let you know I'm behind you, Jason. You're not one of those guys that comes here with a faint of heart looking for a handout, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. I see Mr. Grasby is in the audience. George, if you don't mind assisting these people on how we did vision funds in the past, you served a couple of terms on the vision fund. What I'm looking for is some way, somehow, to support this group. I think you have the skills that would be able to help these folks make a presentation to us on the City Council when we get a chance to review all of these topics. And I'm a return on investment person, Mr. Olson, for your research, if you will. If you can have those numbers readily available for us, and if it's Julie Jensen that's putting this data together for you, kudos, and because she's very trustworthy on the information. But if you can get that numbers in writing for us, I would really appreciate it, because I'd like to see the return on investment. This is a good sample of what you gave us here tonight. I see we have another Air Force person here in the audience, and I want to thank you for your service and being a participant with the assistance with this group. And I can't say enough about having adults involved in helping out the students as well. So thank you very much for all of that. Speaking of the fun aspect of it, I used to do a lot of dancing, and I understand what it's like to be on a very poor dance floor. And I can understand what you're going through on a tennis court that is not very playable. So you've got my attention, and if I can find a way to fully support this, I am on board with this. So again, thank you, Mr. Olson, for bringing this to our attention. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Greg Stroman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to echo what my colleagues have said. I'm in complete agreement with it. Everything from protecting a city investment and making sure that we're maintaining our assets to the kudos to Mr. Olson. There's just so many positives here. and I don't want to let this opportunity get away from us. So I'm in complete agreement with this and fully support it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Appreciate all you being here tonight.
Great, thank you.
We won't be making any decision tonight, but thank you for your presence here. We'll take this up at another time. We'll let you know when that comes up.
Okay, next is our time for general public comment. A time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any item not on the agenda except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. And we have some speaker requests.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry. I was just notified there were people who signed up to speak on this tennis topic. Did we want to do that in public comment, or did they want to do this on its...
Requested to be heard.
Thank you. Sorry, I just was clarifying.
Yep. So first, Vanessa Wittenberg. And all the speakers tonight have 3 minutes. You can watch over here at these traffic lights to see how you're doing. We've already spent 35 or so minutes on tennis. If you don't have to take 3 minutes if you don't want to. That's time you can add on to the end of your life. When the doctor says you have 3 minutes left to live, you can get a free one.
Okay.
So, okay.
All right. Hi, my name is Vanessa Wittenberg, and I won't take very much of your time. But I have been fortunate enough to play tennis for the past 16 years. And my sister and I have played tennis for that long. And we've competed at the Sioux Park tennis courts for as long as I can remember. I was fortunate enough to win the Flight 1 state championship this year at the Sioux Park tennis courts, and I was super excited about that, especially because they're my home courts. But my freshman year, I actually slipped on the wet tennis courts at Sioux Park, and I tore both of my hip labrums, which required 2 very extensive surgeries. So I was very fortunate enough to come back and win 2 state championships my junior and senior years. But I may not be the first or last success story if the courts are not resurfaced. And then I'll just talk about really fast. My favorite part about tennis is that it touches on all different demographics. I have made some of my best friends through tennis, young, old, male, female, white, black, any race, it doesn't matter. They're all my best friends, and I know that I'll be with them for the rest of my life. And I know that this project will touch on all of them, and it doesn't just represent one person or one demographic.
Thank you. Next, Matt Morrow.
Hello all, thank you for having me. I know that Jason alluded to that I'm the tournament director for the money tournament here in Rapid City. It's the Midland Scientific Open. I wanted to talk a little bit about the benefits that it brings. These are some of the best players in the world coming to our tournament, and it's a benefit to having Rapid City on the map. We are a destination location, and I just wanted to reinforce that we have a lot of opportunity to grow this tournament. We are considering making it, an ATP level event, which is putting professional points on it, which we'd be getting the Roger Federers of the world here in Rapid City, which would make it a big spectator sport. There's a lot of opportunity for us to grow these tournaments and to create opportunities at the junior level as well. So the financial benefits of resurfacing these courts and making it the best facility in the Midwest, maybe in like the northern half of the U.S., would be something that we could really, really benefit from. The other thing I'd like to mention as a provider of tennis and as a tennis teacher, since we have the pandemic on our hands and youth have to still progress and still have to get some sort of physical exercise and being able to just develop physically and mentally through sport and exercise, tennis has been a great avenue for them to be able to still progress, even though that physical contact is being really limited at this point. That's a huge advantage of tennis, and you know, having tennis in the community and what Jason's done with his Parks and Rec community. And I think it's a really good deal what he's been doing. So those are the two opportunities that I wanted to have, and I know that we're short on time, so that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Chris Grant.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for giving me a moment. I'll keep this brief because pretty much everything that needs to be said has been said. And Jason, everything that was said about Jason tonight is accurate. Thank you all for recognizing him for the good work he's done. So I'm here to represent the Black Hills Tennis Association. I'm the vice president of that organization. Our president, Sterling Grenai, can't be here because he's coaching tennis. He's coaching the Christian team tonight in a match. But I just want you to know that our association represents tennis players throughout the greater Rapid City area, and that's exactly what we're about, is growing and promoting this sport for all demographics, all ages, all races, all ethnicities. We're about growing, supporting tennis, holding tournaments, you know, providing scholarships, and our organization is totally and completely behind this in every way you can imagine. The other thing I do is I'm a USTA official and a college official, tennis official. So I have opportunities to see tennis facilities all throughout the region. And I want to speak to this issue just very briefly again from a safety standpoint. So when you're on the court officiating a tennis match, you get an opportunity to see the players very close up. And there are some danger aspects to this in terms of, you know, shifting surfaces and pooled water and wet spots and other issues on the surface that we need to be concerned about. I'm concerned about as an official, and I'll stop a match if I feel the players are in any kind of danger. And you know, unfortunately, Sioux Park is approaching that, where I would make a ruling that this court or that court is simply unplayable, and that's of course going to have an impact on the tournaments we bring here, which of course ties to the revenue issue. So again, I want to be respectful of the time here. Just let you know our association supports this endeavor completely, and we'll do anything we can to step up and back it. So thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you. Teresa Postma, did I get your name correct?
You did, thank you. Hi, I'm Teresa, and yes, I did play basketball, but I started playing tennis when I was 47 years old, and it's a sport for all ages. I've been coaching the Rapid City Christian Girls program for the last 3 years. I'm a member of the Black Hills Tennis Association. I'm a member of their leagues, and I'm a player and a coach, and I love everything about tennis, and I love the people that I'm with. I would like to just be the voice of some of the girls from my team, from our program tonight, as they're not able to be here or they're just kind of shy. One of them is not, though. This is from a tennis parent. If it wasn't for tennis, my player wouldn't have overcome their anxiety that they have been dealing with for several years. Because of tennis, my player has positive friends that help support them through everything they have anxiety over. My child has more confidence, and because of that, was able to deal more with getting through COVID ups and downs. When schools closed last spring and then everything being shut down, my player was starting to get depressed. They were so excited to find out that tennis was going to happen that they could be a little normal. I am thankful my player was able to be with friends from tennis who have helped with emotional, mental, and spiritual stability. We do play and we practice at the Sioux Park complex. Love that place. Love, love, love that place. This is from a tennis player. COVID was an extremely dark and scary time for a lot of teenagers, including me. Tennis was an escape from that fear and gave me a lot of light in that time period. Of course, we were safe and followed guidelines as you should, but having something to look forward to each day was really important for me. This is from another family. At a time when they and all of us were being told to social distance, we were still being able to maintain safe distance requirements, and then by some huge margins. It was a much-needed diversion in the lives of our youth when the world seemed to be upside down. Tennis was one of the few things that remained somewhat normal and consistent and allowed the players to still feel connected to one another rather than being isolated. This is from a high school player. Having tennis was so important to me during COVID. It was the one time I could push all the craziness out of my mind and be able to interact with others more normally. The encouragement and support of my coaches and teammates helped me keep positive and hopeful. And playing tennis, it helped me to focus on something else and forget about my stress. When I stepped on the tennis court, I felt free and relieved from stress, and I was glad to be able to get out of the house and do something. And this is lastly from a tennis family. The tennis season was a gift to the girls and their families during COVID. It gave my player a sense of normalcy and hope during uncertainty and chaos. She deepened much-needed friendships along the relationships. She formed new relationships with out-of-town opponents, even becoming pen pals with one. Since tennis is considered one of the top COVID-safe sports, she could play without worry or hesitation. Tennis is a lifelong sport that she looks forward to continuing for many years. And so, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you and to share with you. And I would encourage you, get a racket and come play.
Thank you. Arabella Scott.
Hi, I'm Arabella Scott. I live in Rapid City and I've been playing tennis for 10 years. Tennis has always been a way to get healthy exercise in, and since it teaches mental toughness, it's helped me with my schoolwork and confidence, and it actually helped me make good decisions under stressful situations, an example maybe being tonight. And I've been able to meet new people through tennis from different states, different parts of the state. It's helped me meet new friends when I feel like I wasn't able to meet anyone because of COVID. Knowing I was always able to go to Sioux Park tennis courts was always very comforting because it helped me feel less isolated. When other teams come to visit from maybe other states or different parts of South Dakota, I've always been proud of our facilities, and it makes me proud of Rapid City when people come to play here and love to play here. And I hope that the city makes the improvements necessary to continue to keep this amazing facility running and safe for everyone who wants to come play. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job. Next is Annie Busler.
I'm going to throw the notes away because everything's already been said pretty much. My name is Annie Busler. I'm a retired teacher in the Rapid City School District. In fact, I had Mr. Lehman as a student, and Mr. Jones was my principal at one time. And I just want to thank all the people that are involved. Tennis is really, I wasn't going to get emotional, but it's really important, I think, to a lot of people. I think like Jason was he taught my daughter tennis and myself. And Sioux Park is just kind of the starting point for a lot of people's interactions with other people. For example, during COVID, I just felt like you just had freedom when you're able to go play tennis there. And a lot of people had, it was just a crazy time. It's still kind of a crazy time. But I think people had a lot of differences and different opinions about things. But you could go out with your friends and play tennis and just, forget about that for a couple hours. And I also, really feel like I've made so many friends through tennis that I never would have met had I not done it. And sorry, I'm emotional about it, but it's been a big part of my life. I helped with Rapid City Central girls tennis for about 14 years. And so, I've just seen a lot of development. Everybody's mentioned different things about tennis, and I don't want to take up your time, but it is really important to a lot of people. And the Sioux Park facility is just like, it's really, and we are so fortunate to have what we do have in Rapid City regarding tennis and other things. But Sioux Park, to me, is kind of like a gem in the entire tennis, community, because it's just been a wonderful place to meet a lot of people, and I think families have really, mushroomed there and enjoyed each other's company, and you get to meet people that come, for like state tennis tournament or for tournaments that come to the community. It's been a wonderful thing, and I realize there are a lot of pressing issues, but if there's any way that you can fund it or fund it partially, it would be much appreciated. I think many, many people appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Busler, you have our condolences on having to teach Lance Lehman.
I had him too.
Okay.
For the record, I don't remember any German, Frau Busler.
Next is George Graspy.
Hello, I'm
George, and good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for your time and your patience this evening. You've heard quite a bit. My only question, I guess, would be to Councilman Nordstrom. Do you anticipate having this on the agenda again and having a little more formal presentation? Is that based on your comments, or just curious?
Mayor, if I may.
You may.
Mr. Gosby, what we're planning on doing is having a special council meeting on May 10th, which is next Monday. We don't have any guidelines or criteria set up just yet, but I'm hoping that we will see those guidelines coming up on the May 10th. And then once that is established, then we'll be able to better inform you what we're expecting and everything. But my personal request is something very similar to what you presented during the vision funds. You have the expertise. And then also what I'm interested in, when the opportune time comes to us, is that I'm interested in a return on investment. So I think for me, that's two key factors. And as soon as we get those guidelines, we'll make them public, and stay tuned.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And George, I would clarify too that the May 10th meeting is when we'll see Rapid City Department directors present to the council on city issues such as infrastructure and city buildings and that sort of thing. And then I imagine there would be a subsequent meeting where other requests, say for example, council priorities would come forward. So stay tuned. We're putting it together as we go.
Thank you.
Okay, and the last speaker request is Hannah Beckloff.
Hello everyone. My name is Hannah Beckloff, and I'm here this evening to encourage you to approve the funding to redo the Sioux Park tennis courts. I've enjoyed playing for Rapid City Christian for the last 6 years, and I'm looking forward to playing my last season as senior this fall. While in isolation during COVID last year, many experienced the feeling of being disconnected from close friends. There was feeling of separation, division, and detachment from relationships. Once the girls' tennis season started in 2020, it felt like many relationships were mended and activities began to feel normal again. Without having a tennis season, I would have never restored relationships and started new connections with girls from other teams. Through having tennis season, I was able to grow closer to my coaches. They have become not only my coaches for tennis, but also my life mentors. Tournaments and duels at Sioux Park brought many from all around the state. It produced unity again and created a safe environment for everyone. I have many fond memories of playing at Sioux Park with my tennis family, and I hope to continue to do more. I have also been given scholarships the last 3 years from the Black Hills Tennis Association, which has enabled me to meet at Sioux Park for tennis lessons. I hope that scholarships can still be used by other recipients in the future. Tennis is a sport for all ages, and without great outdoor courts to play on, people will have less opportunities to play outdoors in Rapid City together. I am hopeful that the council will approve funding to improve the tennis courts at Sioux Park. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And now we're going to call on Councilwoman Darla Drew.
Thank you, and I'm not going to speak about tennis, so you guys are pretty scary looking from down here. So I'm here to talk about the Pediatrics book drive that's going on right now. I started the book drive about 20 years ago, and we didn't do it last year because of COVID, and I heard from a lot of children's organizations that they were out of books and needed some, so I decided to run the drive this year. It's been very successful. We've probably raised over 175,000 books for children in need over the last 20 years. But of course, like any good thing, I haven't done that by myself. It took the help of a lot of different groups that raise books every year at their facilities. That includes the library, the Doll, Books A Million, the Cave Collective, every Black Hills Federal Credit Union location, and Fire Station Number 1 came on in 2019, and they were very, very helpful. These books go to children that can't get books where they are. You know, we live in Rapid City, we can go to the library, maybe we can pick up a book at BAM, but these children, even though their library might be available at the school, their home life is so chaotic, they don't feel that it's safe to bring a book home because they don't know if they can get it back. So this is a source of books for children to take home. It's not to build a library anywhere, and they've gone home for over 25 years to find a new home. The cool thing about this is I don't ask for money. I ask that you go through your closets, and where is that sound coming from? I don't know. Anyway, whatever. I'm not asking for money. I'm asking for you to go in your closets and look at your books that your kids left when they went to college or have just simply outgrown, and find those books a new home. Repurpose those books. I'm looking for books with that are gently used or brand new, and I can put them to good use. The drive will end on May 15th, and so I'd like all of you that have time to go through and look at those books that are in your home and decide if they really need to stay there or if they could be repurposed to a child that is really in need of those books. Because bonding over reading a book is one of the best experiences of childhood. If you want to donate, you can donate at any of the locations I mentioned earlier. And if you want to find out more, go to rediatrics.org. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now Jordan Mason.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Again, Jordan Mason at 6503 Susan Lane. I'm here tonight to simply go over a timeline and facts regarding home rule because I want it to be clarified. I've also handed out a letter that was written to you specifically on November 12th of 2019 by Mayor Allender because I believe that you should hear it from the horse's mouth. December 16th, Mayor Allender introduced the Home Rule Charter Committee, describing it at 1 hour, 8 minutes, and 40 seconds into that meeting as, and I quote, a citizen committee who will spend the next 6 to 9 months, I want to repeat that, 6 to 9 months, investigating the option of a Home Rule Charter. In addition, the item was described on the agenda as a committee to, and I quote, examine the pros and cons of the Home Rule form of government, end quote. And it was later, and I quote, tasked with providing a summary of findings and giving a recommendation concerning home rule, and I want to emphasize this very clearly, during the 2020 calendar year, end quote. February 3rd, 2020, Mayor Allender signed a contract with USERA Consulting LLC based on a proposal for the meeting facilitation for an amount of $27,000. I would point out to you that under Rapid City Municipal Code 3.04.090, that the mayor, and I'll quote this, the mayor or any department or director may approve and sign a purchase order or enter into any contract on behalf of the city without prior approval by the Common Council for the following expenditures. Supplies and services are for an amount less than $25,000. I would point out also that that proposal that capped it at $27,000, which brings it $2,000 above legally authorized, that they spent $33,575 was paid to USERA Consulting. On May 4th, Home Rule Committee members were appointed to the committee and convened by this council. By December 2020, People's Rule formed. In January of 2021, in an email correspondence between myself and Mayor Steve Allender, the mayor wrote to me and said, quote, I assume a draft charter will be made public at the time the committee makes its presentation to the council. Ballpark estimate, hyphen, late February sometime. March 1st, Mayor Allender said, yeah, they have a draft charter that's part of what led their work as a committee. I want to review some facts here. The council never approved the creation of a home rule charter, but to form, and I quote again, a committee to examine the pros and cons of the home rule form of government. That's on the December 16, 2019 agenda. This council approved this committee on the basis that they would provide a summary of findings and give a recommendation. This council never authorized the expenditure of $33,575. And finally, the mayor promised that these would be open to the public, and they never have been to date. I am asking that this council take their power back and end this nonsense. And frankly, I think you've been bamboozled. Thank you for your time.
Okay, moving on. non-public hearing items, items 4 through 55. There are no public comment requests on these items, so we won't have a public comment period. So that'll take us to consent items, items 4 through 45. We'll go to Laura Armstrong. Yes.
Mayor, I'd like to pull number 17, please.
Okay, item 17. Are there other items the council would like to pull off for separate consideration? Okay, seeing none, could we have a motion to approve the consent items with the exception of 17 by Solomon, second by Armstrong, and we'll go to roll call vote to approve those items.
Stroman. Armstrong. Lehman. Solomon. Evans. Drew. Nordstrom.
Aye.
Weifenbach.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
You are the last party in the conference. You will hear silence until the conference begins.
Just remember, technology makes your life easier. Well, that'll take us to item 17, creation of the parking operations manager position. We'll go to Laura Armstrong.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to start by doing a motion to approve. If I can get a second, please.
Second by Darla Drew.
Great, thank you. On Wednesday, we had a pretty in-depth conversation at our agenda review, and we were provided 8 pages of supplemental documentation, as well as an extensive email from Director Stroot. And then we also had supportive documentation from our police chief, Hedrick. I really didn't see all the controversy with that, but I did take Mr. Evans' comments into consideration. But given the overwhelming documentation this position needs to go through, we approved the study, we acknowledged and implemented these recommendations. This is the next and last step that we need to do to make sure that this keeps moving forward. Thank you. I yield.
Okay, Bill Evans.
I'm just going to tell you all that I think it really takes a lot of unmitigated gall at this particular time to bring forward a proposal to create this really excessively paid position. Whether or not a parking director is necessary is not what I'm arguing about. I really argue with this particular salary scale that's been proposed, and I keep hearing about Sioux Falls does this and Sioux Falls does that. I can tell you, Jason used to be my student too in orchestra, and he's been teaching for I don't know how many years, but his salary is about 60% of what we're proposing down here for this after what, 30 years of offering his services to this community? And since we love to compare stats with Sioux Falls' gross domestic product in the ranking of all metropolitan areas is number 30 in the nation out of 400 plus metropolitan areas with $61,000 per citizen. Rapid Cities ranks 204th at $39,000. The median income here is in Sioux Falls is $59,000. It's about $52,000 in Rapid City. Downtown housing units in Sioux Falls, there's 1,400 units with a population of 2,800 that live downtown full time. I can't find those stats for Rapid City, although if you look online, you can find them for Sioux Falls right now. Downtown jobs in Sioux Falls, 9,230 according to the most recent stats. I couldn't find Rapid Cities again, but Fort Collins, a city more than twice as big as Rapid City, only has 5,000 jobs downtown. Now, from all the stats, I can see that most of ours fall at 50% of Sioux Falls's in terms of numbers, so maybe we ought to start at a salary about 50% of what Sioux Falls is offering. And I wish there was as much drama and passion about funding this particular position. I wish it would have shown up a little bit when they talked about funding the custodial positions who maintain this building, because it was pointed out about 7 or 8, 10 years ago when I was on the negotiations committee that our custodians in Rapid City were making 50% of the same positions in Sioux Falls, in the school district. So we have these discrepancies, so I don't want to have any of these comparisons with Sioux Falls. If we want to create this position, let's figure out what it's worth and fund it from that point. But this tit for tat with Sioux Falls is crazy because we don't match up statistically or economically or in terms of numbers. I would imagine we have a fourth the number of cars in downtown Rapid City parking on a daily basis in Sioux Falls. So maybe the salary should be 1/4 of what Sioux Falls is. Thank you.
Greg Stroman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll have to admit that when this proposal first came forth, I was a little bit skeptical and on the fence, but after having reviewed the submissions by Mr. Strout and by Chief Hedrick, I think that this is an appropriate use of funds, and it will free up some time and expense that we have in the police department right now. Chief Hedrick pointed out that the police department lieutenant and sergeant, who have previously been in charge of the parking enforcement employees and oversaw the changeover to the new system, have a multitude of daily duties to attend to outside of parking. I'd like to see those, that lieutenant and sergeant moved into doing more police work and less parking work. So I'm in support of this proposal. Thank you. I yield.
Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to get some facts out here from the information I've been able to collect. And as soon as I get done with my portion, if I could have Mr. Strout give just a summary of the email that he sent to us so we can get some of this information on the record. I don't intend to change Councilman Evans' mind on where we're at or what we're planning on doing, but I see it as a cost savings when we get the police department getting back to doing police work and the salaries on that. But I just wanted to point out a couple of facts that I asked the Rapid City area schools for their pay matrix. This lines up to something very comparable, and I'm not saying it's job for job or apples to apples, but the administrator and technician placement on their grid, it's called the ASBU, is on a level 3, and their starting pay is at $65,000. It's not equivalent to what the teachers make, and if a teacher is on their pay matrix on their Appendix A, and they have 6 years of experience, then they get $50,000. And if they have 0 years of experience, then it's $40,000. I won't argue the fact that it is underpaid on the teacher side, but that shouldn't set the pace or the example of what we need here in Rapid City. So if I can yield to Mr. Strout to take up the rest of my time with just a summary of the email that he sent out to us. Are you prepared, Mr. Strout? So you'll go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Richie, Council, Mayor. The email I sent today had about 3 bullet points on it. One was we asked how much are we paying for this annually, and so I had the directors of the police, finance, and public works estimate how much time their employees are spending doing this on a yearly basis, and then I took their annual salary, and it's not perfect, but it came up to about $116,000 of employees' time. And we had a really good quote in here on why it takes so much of their time. It's because there's no synergy amongst the 3 departments, and even within the PD, the 2 people that do it are pulled away to do real police work, and so they hand it off to someone else, and then they have to start over, and that's why it's so inconvenient. The other thing that was in there is and to Mr. Evans' point, we do compare ourselves to Sioux Falls a lot, but I attached the job description because that was where we started this with, was just what does their job description look like? I didn't go to Sioux Falls with the group that studied this years ago, but they said they had a really good program, so it was something we wanted to look at. And then, just the idea of what does a what does a parking manager make nationwide? And if you Google parking manager's salary, you're going to get something that says about $52,000 annually. But that's not actually what we're talking about here. Those are private individuals who work for big, large parking corporations. And so if you ever go to a large city, you might have to pay to park. You know, some places have little ATMs, you get the ticket and put it in your window. Some places have the booth with the arm. They're managing those parking lots, or maybe a parking ramp. And that's not really what we're asking this person to do. It's more of a program that supervises people and really is a partner with Vicky and community development folks to look at our parking overall. And then the final point on there I wanted to make was the internal equity. And Richie did some research on his own, but it's important that we find like positions around the city. And if we're making sure that these are the types of responsibilities they have, these are the number of people they're going to be supervising, that's flat across the different departments. So those were the points I wanted to hit today. And so if you had any further questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Darla Drew.
Thank you. I'm going to support this position. This is a new way of looking at parking. It's a resource, and it should be managed as a city resource. And it shouldn't be managed by the police, who have a different scope of work. We develop the parking areas. We manage them with the line markings. We have the meters or the not metered. And we rotate the traffic in front of businesses with this. It's a system, it's something that is designed to be managed. And I don't have any problem with somebody taking this. We've got a parks director, we have a community development director, a library director, and to have someone that manages parking, which is really a relevant and growing resource in our city. It's going to be important to know how we're going to manage it when we have more people living downtown, more people shopping downtown, more people being downtown. So this is just something that we might not have that now, Councilman Evans, but we're going to have it, and I think we have to plan for that eventuality. So I'm going to be supporting this, and I think that it's a great idea because it's a resource. Thank you.
Ron Weifenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm not going to speak for Mr. Evans, but I'll say something anyway. He didn't disagree with the concept of a parking manager. He's disagreeing with how we came about setting the salaries. And I have a question for Mr. Strout and Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
We got the police department basically operating the parking. And I agree that we need, years ago, we had this concept and we couldn't get the downtown people to decide on it, parking authority or whatever, really. So all the meters will be paying for the salary, I'm assuming?
Correct.
Okay. And you'd mentioned this job classification will have other people working under it, so how many people will be working under this guy?
I believe, I don't want to speak for the police department, but 3 enforcement officers right away.
3? Okay.
And then we'll need some administrative help.
So do we have 3 people doing it right now, Mr. Strout?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that won't change much there. No, I mean, we go back to I think Mr. Evans has a legitimate question when he talks about, it seems like we're going through salary negotiations, and I'm not going to get into some of this stuff because I'll be too pissed off to talk about it, but we want to compare what Sioux Falls is doing and what Rapid City's doing. What does a Sioux Falls police officer make versus a Rapid City police officer, since we're talking about taking it out of their departments?
I don't know offhand what the Sioux Falls police officers make.
I'd venture to say there's probably a couple dollars an hour difference. So I will support the concept of having a parking director, because I think, honestly, all that needs to be directed by somebody that the synergy, everything makes sense. Because there's snow removal, there's maintenance, and, if you own a building, say you own a Walmart or whatever, the store at Walmart has to take care of all that stuff. And that's something that the people in the downtown community and the people that are using the parking lots and stuff need to understand, is that there's got to be an enterprise that pays for all that, and it hasn't been that way, so it's going to be interesting to see how all those finances work out in the end. I'm not real keen on, I'm not sure what the salary range for this job is. Mr. Mayor, I'd ask Mr. Strout what the salary range for this job is.
Currently, as proposed, it's a grade 21 on our scale, which at the beginning is 61,163, and then at the end of the lifetime of the scale, which is 34 steps, it's 89,895.
How much was that?
89,895.
Okay, now they'd have to make like probably what, 10, 15 years to get that?
Probably more like 30. We get about 1 step a year. So if we start people out usually between steps 1 and 4, 1 and 5.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask Mr. Strout what a cop makes in our town.
You can ask him.
Thank you. Mr. Strout.
Don might know better than I do offhand. I'm sorry I don't have that information with me. Sorry to put you on the spot, Don.
You're burning up my time, Mr. Hedrick.
I'm not sure if you're looking for the full salary, but starting wage is right in that $23 an hour.
It's about $49,000 a year. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I don't have any problem with the creation of the job, and I don't think Mr. Evans has a problem with that. I just want to be relative in how we handle the rest of our employees in our city. We're going to compare to Sioux Falls, and let's compare to Sioux Falls. Let's treat them all the same. Let's just don't pick and choose. That causes chaos amongst the city. I'm not happy about it. I'm going to support the whole general concept of it, and I think that there's people in the community right now that could be trained to do this job. I don't think the police officers that are handling this right now go to parking lot school. What they're handling the job, they're doing a pretty good job of it. I think if we have to find someone within our departments that we can train to do the job, it's probably going to be a good job, and if we can get them educated, they got good resources, they'll be able to learn from those two people. I don't think we need to go out and find some dude that just, I think there's opportunity within the people that already work in our community here, so I'm hoping we really look at those avenues first. Thank you.
Okay, I just have a couple comments, and then we'll, oh, sorry, Pat Jones is on the phone. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to bellow out a few comments on this. I very much support this idea. It seems like being an almost lifelong Rapid City resident, as we've grown and expanded in different areas and exciting things have happened, parking has just kind of been a, oh yeah, well, we'll make it work kind of a thing. And we have so many tremendous things in the works right now with the expansion of the Civic Center, 6th Street project, and just many other things. So instead of having parking being the last thing figured, having a person in this role to help make sure parking is considered, along the ride, I think is a great idea. I would support it very much, and I think it needs to be someone who has. I really want to compliment Alderman Drew. I really liked what she said about parking is kind of like. It's a resource similar to water and those kinds of things that we have, and we have to provide them. And so it is that valuable of an asset. I apologize if I'm a little odd because I'm severely medicated at the moment. Maybe that's why I'm bellowing from time to time. But I support it very much. I think it would be a great idea for us to get the right person in and have this position filled. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now I just have a couple comments. If you missed the first part of this, well, I'm not sure we talked about it in a public forum, but management of the parking lots currently is done about 3/5 by the Rapid City Police Department, about 1/5 by Public Works, and about 1/5 by City Finance. It's very inefficient, and I would just say when it's everyone's turn, when it's everyone's job to feed the dog starves. And one of the things that's not being done in this management scheme right now is planning for the future. So we decided to relieve these other city work groups of their parking lot management duties, hire a full-time parking manager. So we have an established pay scale for city managers. And this is a grade 21, which, if I'm not mistaken, is equivalent to a police sergeant or lieutenant. I think police sergeant is a grade 21. So that's a a sergeant is a first-line supervisor. And then in the fire department, there are jobs that are grade 21 also. In planning, in every city department, there are jobs that are grade 21. That is a management, supervision or management position. This particular employee will be overseeing the health and welfare of millions of dollars in taxpayer assets, whether they're flat parking lots or the parking ramp or the expensive equipment needed to do enforcement, the meters facilitating the software issues, all of that type of thing. Plus, it's a planning job as well, so they're going to have to interact on the planning side using, I assume, data from traffic studies and parking studies to be able to determine where the next ramp is going to be in Rapid City. We're running out of flat lots. I think we would all agree in 10 years from now there's going to be another ramp somewhere downtown. We need to pick the right spot, the strategic spot, rather than the spot that happens to already be owned by us. So it's a planning for the future use, and not just use, but maintenance and operations of those parking facilities as well. And as already previously stated, enforcement. Enforcement right now is highly automated, but there are still human beings for the time being working in that area. So this is a management job, and for the internal equity, we placed this job on the pay scale for a management position because there's managing to be done. So that's how we got here. I appreciate all the conversation about it. And now I'll go back to Bill Evans, but I'm not sure how much time you have left, so I wasn't looking.
And you bring up a valid point. Like Mr. Wittenbach says, I'm not opposed to this position. But again, for the fourth time in several months, we've had a new position created, and we've been voting on, and a salary set, and there's really been no discussion for any of these positions among the council members. It's just given to us, rubber stamp it. And this plays directly into the hands of the people that hate home rule, the people that are opposed to city managers, everything. I'm going to tell you, since I spoke about this last Wednesday, 100% of the comments I've had are thank you for sticking up to us, for us who don't have a say in these salaries. It's not going to be a popular thing when people see what you're paying this person. I'm going to tell you that. Now, whether it's needed or not, I'm not going to dispute that. I get it. I just spent the weekend in Lincoln looking at all those dozens and dozens of parking ramps and the kind of management it takes. But then you're also dealing with 20 times the number of vehicles. And that is what we have not had any of this discussion about. At what point do we need this? At what point does it have to be a certain size and scope, the job description? So yeah, it's what I'm talking about isn't the need for that kind of position, it's how it was created, how the salary was set and everything else. So I just want to be clear on that. Thank you.
Okay, the motion on the floor is for approval, and we'll go to roll call, please.
Lehman. Drew.
Aye.
Nordstrom.
Aye.
Evans.
No.
Stroman.
Aye.
Armstrong. Solomon. Weifenbach. Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-1.
Okay, thank you. And that takes us through consent and on to the non-consent items, 46 through 55. Again, there are no speaker requests, so there will not be a public comment for these items. So we'll start with item 46 under ordinances. Second reading of ordinance 6464, an ordinance establishing chapter 8.40 regarding nuisance sidewalks and amending chapter 12.08 regarding sidewalk construction and repair. Motion to approve by Drew. Second by Nordstrom. Roll call, please.
Armstrong. Lehman. Solomon. Evans. Drew. Nordstrom.
Aye.
Weifenbach. Stroman. Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I know. I was wondering if these guys, are you waiting for your item to come up? It's already done?
Nope, we're still waiting.
Which item? Oh, okay. Sorry, we mistook you for, all right. Okay. Okay, stand by. 47. Second reading of Ordinance 6483 regarding Supplemental Appropriation Number 2 for 2021. Motion to approve Nordstrom. Second Lehman. Roll call, please.
Drew. Nordstrom.
Aye.
Wyffenbach. Stroman. Armstrong. Solomon. Lehman. Evans. Jones. Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Aye.
Thank you. Item 48. First reading, Ordinance 6484, an ordinance amending Section 17.06 of Chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, a request by Long Branch Civil Engineering for DOIC LLC for a rezoning request from General Agricultural District to Low Density Residential District for property generally described as being located in the western terminus of Coal Bank Drive. Motion approved by Drew, second by Lehman. Roll call, please.
Lehman. Solomon. Evans. Drew. Nordstrom.
Aye.
Wyffenbach. Stroman. Armstrong. Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 49, first reading of Ordinance 6486 regarding Supplemental Appropriation Number 3 for 2021. Motion to approve, Drew. Second by Nordstrom.
Stroman. Armstrong. Lehman. Solomon. Evans. Drew. Nordstrom.
Aye.
Wyffenbach. Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Under Community Development Items, Item 50, a request by KLG for Kirk Simmet for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed lots 1 and 2, lots 15 through 21 of Moon Meadows Ridge subdivision, generally described as being located east of Moon Meadows Drive terminus, and the recommendation is to approve with stipulations. Motion made by Armstrong and a second by Lehman to approve with stipulations. Roll call, please.
Lehman. Drew. Nordstrom.
Aye.
Evans. Stroman. Armstrong. Solomon. Wyffenbach. Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, item 51. A request by Long Branch Civil Engineering for DOIC LLC for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed lots 40 through 43 of Block 4, Lot 44 of Block 10, lots 4 through 7 of Block 11, lots 1 through 12 of Block 16, lots 1 through 20 of Block 17, lots 1 through 9 of Block 18, lots 1 through 2 of Block 19, and lots 10 and 11 of Block 20 of Auburn Hills subdivision, generally described as being located in the western terminus of Coal Bank Drive. And again, the recommendation is to approve with stipulations. Motion by Lehman.
Second.
Second by Pat Jones. And we'll go to roll call.
Armstrong. Lehman. Solomon. Evans. Drew. Nordstrom.
Aye.
Wyffenbach. Stroman. Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 52, a request by Towie Design Group. I think I'm saying that right. TUI Design Group for Pink Cabin LLC for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed lots 1 through 12 of Block 3 of Moon Meadows Park subdivision, generally described as being located west of Healing Way between Samus Trail and Moon Meadows Drive. The recommendation is to approve with stipulations. Was that by Solomon? And a second by Armstrong. Roll call, please.
Drew, Nordstrom,
Aye.
Wyffenbach, Stroman, Armstrong, Solomon, Lehman, Evans, Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, item 53, a request by TUI Design Group for Pink Cabin LLC for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed lots 1 through 39 of Misty Meadows subdivision, generally described as being located south of Misty Woods Lane and Coalbank Drive intersection. Recommendation is to approve with stipulations. Motion by Armstrong and a second by Lehman to approve with stipulations, and roll call, please.
Lehman, Solomon, Evans, Drew, Nordstrom,
Aye.
Wyffenbach, Stroman, Armstrong, Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Under bid awards, item 54, award bid for concrete for utility service locations to Prime Excavation in the amount of $231,872.50. Okay, Nordstrom with approval. Approval per South Dakota Bid Law 5-18A-5, subsection 6. Is there a second? Second by Darla Drew. Okay, and a roll call, please.
Stroman, Armstrong, Lehman, Solomon, Evans, Drew, Nordstrom,
Aye.
Wyffenbach, Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Item 55 are alcoholic beverage license renewals, 50 of them total, which have all been vetted through the Rapid City Police Department.
Move approval.
Okay, Jones for approval, second by Armstrong. And roll call, please.
Lehman, Drew, Nordstrom,
Aye.
Evans, Stroman, Armstrong, Solomon, Wyffenbach, Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That takes us on to public hearing items 56 through 61. There are no speakers here for those items, so we will forego the public comment period and go straight to consent public hearing items 56 through 61. Motion to approve Lehman. Seriously? Okay. Which item would you like to pull? Okay. 56 and 57 are being pulled off of consent. That means we need a motion to approve 58 through 61. Okay, motion by Armstrong and a second by Lehman for approval of 58 through 61, and we'll have a roll call on that, please.
Armstrong, Lehman, Solomon, Evans, Drew,
Aye.
Nordstrom,
Aye.
Wyffenbach, Stroman, Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Back to item 56, Rapid City Summer Nights Incorporated for special event on-sale wine license and on-sale malt beverage license for several events planned throughout the summer of 2021. We'll go to Darla Drew.
I have a question for Chief Hedrick, please.
Okay.
As you're walking up, I've gotten some concerns from some constituents on the fact that there seems to be a lack of security at some of these events, that they just don't feel as safe as they used to. Is there a police presence down there, or is it required by the Summer Nights folks that they do have security at the stage?
Well, we've had a presence at that event ever since it started, and any time that we have a large mass gathering of our folks, that's an event that we're going to have our officers available and at regardless. And I can tell you from experience, the event, the problems that we've had at the events itself are pretty minimal. A few years back, we had some kids that were kind of goofing around and, doing some things that kids do at times, scuffles and such, and we used that as an opportunity to engage with the youth by creating our Police Athletics League. That's actually where that was born from, where we brought in basketball hoops and gave us a chance to actually engage with kids that we wouldn't have been able to do so in the past. So
I get that.
Okay.
The concerns I'm getting are from families that don't feel safe around the band stage area, that people are really consuming a bit too much alcohol there, and there's no oversight.
Okay, well, you know, that specific issue would be news to me, but it's something we could keep on our radar as we plan to be there anyway.
Okay, that would be appreciated. Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks.
I yield.
Ron Weifenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wasn't going to comment on this, but I will. And my question would be for Chief Hedrick. And if you are at an event at the Civic Center, do they compensate the police department for that?
Yes.
Your officers
Yep.
are compensated by the Civic Center. I would suggest that Summer Nights takes on, if there's a concern. I mean, they're serving beer down there. You're going to have crazy people running around. And if you take your family down there to an environment where people are drinking alcohol 16 ounces at a time, you're taking on a risk. Right now, I don't think the police department is getting compensated for anything that happens down there, and I think this is something we should have a conversation about. And I guess Chief Hedrick could correct me if I'm wrong, but do you guys get compensated by Summer Nights for the officers that patrol the area?
No, we do not, but we have been pretty active in planning. When it comes to security for the event, the planning crew has invited us in to provide feedback and input.
I think there's no, and you're talking about most of these people that are serving alcohol there are not trained. They don't do this all year round. They bring in groups of people from different offices, and they say, oh, go ahead and serve these people alcohol. They're not trained. They're not professionals. It's a concern that I've had for a lot of years. I've kept my mouth shut lately because it's like in the wind, you know. But since the conversation started, I wanted to, you know, bring it up. I think that the police department has better things to do than to babysit somebody else's party. I think that if we keep continuing going forward with this, I think there's a lot of people in the community that enjoy it. So I think that they should be compensated. It should be, or if they want to hire their own security to handle like around the stage, and I agree with you, Alderman Drew, that there is some, I've seen it. I mean, the people drink too much there, but I don't think that's the police department's responsibility to take care of it. They don't walk into the bar and look at what's happening in the bar and stop people from drinking too much. Those people are professionals. They have licenses at stake. They have insurance at stake. There's a lot of things at stake there. The people that work, that serve alcohol in those communities, go through a training program. I believe that's put on by the police department. So that being said, I'll just leave it at that. I mean, if people are concerned, you're taking your child or your family into an environment where they're serving alcohol 16 ounces at a time, and people are going to get crazy. It happens in the bars, and usually the bars will take on that responsibility, and they don't have a police department to go. Just they'll maybe call them if they need them at the time. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Excuse me, Councilman Weifenbach, I'd like to just piggyback on that. I want to make it clear that I am very much in favor of Summer Nights. I love Summer Nights. I love the people that come down there. I just think we have to step it up a little bit. I ran the Heritage Festival for a couple of years. We were in charge of getting our own security and paying for it. Of course, the police helped us out a lot on that, and that was really welcome. But it was our responsibility to make sure that those people were carded and taken care of, and that we had proper security. So I really want to see this continue, but if we have problems down there, then it might not. So that's all. Thank you.
Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this is a good conversation. For me, it's a conversation starter. And I would be okay, Mayor, if it's possible to bring in someone from Summer Nights to actually hear firsthand from them rather than getting this information secondhand. So if they want to come in and make a presentation, I'd be okay with that. But I'm going to be supporting this license as well. So if we do want to hear directly from the folks at Summer Nights, I think that'd be appropriate. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. So do we have a motion for approval, right? Do we have a motion already? Okay, motion by Solomon and a second by Armstrong then for approval. And we'll go to roll call.
Drew. Nordstrom.
Aye.
Wyffenbach. Stroman. Armstrong. Solomon. Lehman. Sorry. Evans. Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Okay. Item 57, Working Against Violence, Inc. for a special event off-sale package wine dealer license, an event scheduled for May 8th, 2021 at Best Western Ram Coda on North La Crosse Street. Darla Drew.
My only concern here is that it's 5 days from today. And I don't know why we didn't see this a little sooner. I mean, if we said no, then they would have their event with no alcohol, and I just am wondering why we're seeing this so late. It just seems like it's a little bit off to see it 5 days before the event. So I will vote for it, but it kind of makes me uneasy that we could say no, and that would really be a very bad thing for their event. So that's just my concern. Thank you. I yield.
Let's hear from Pauline Sumption on that matter. She might have the answer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It all lies on the applicant when they provide it to the finance office for submittal. So either they are unaware of the process or and found out about it later, or it just didn't happen for whatever reason until now. So just, we have denied applications before because we don't have a council meeting, 2 council meetings. For these special events licenses, we need 2 council meetings, one to set the hearing date, one to have the hearing. And so there's been times that they've come in and that we don't have those two meetings, and they're just SOL. So.
Surely out of luck. Okay.
COL, certainly out of luck. How's that?
Okay, Ron Weifenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question would be for Pauline, and my question would be is, did they meet the criteria that we have set forward for the timeframes, or?
Yes, because this is the actual hearing, so they did meet the times.
Okay, just happened to be 5, okay.
If they would have come in a week later, it would not have met them.
Okay, can you use a motion on this item, please? Motion to approve, Lehman.
Move approval.
Second by
Second.
Jones. And roll call, please.
Lehman. Solomon. Evans. Drew. Nordstrom.
Aye.
Wyffenbach. Stroman. Armstrong. Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And we have a need for an executive session tonight to consult with legal counsel about proposed or pending litigation and contractual matters pursuant to STCL 1-25-2, subsection 4. May I have a motion? Motion to go into executive session by Lehman, second by Armstrong. Roll call before you run out.
Lehman. Drew.
Drew?
Nordstrom.
Aye, she said.
Nordstrom.
Aye.
Evans. Stroman. Armstrong. Solomon. Wyffenbach. Jones.
I vote aye, but I would like to point out that since I can't be in the room for the executive session right now due to the telephonic thing, I will contact the city attorney tomorrow to be brought up to speed as to what was discussed. Thank you.
All right, thanks. We are in executive session then.
Is the executive session going to be in the council chambers or somewhere else?
No, Pat, we're going into the caucus room.
You are the last party in the conference. You will hear silence until the conference begins.
Pat? Pat, are you still on? Yeah, and then when he hangs up with me, I think, because after about a half hour of non-activity, I got worried when, I don't know why, when he finally spoke, all of a sudden, That's right. Oops, here's somebody filled out a speaker request form, but they didn't know what to do with it. Oh. Well, here's that. Right. A lot of roll call votes tonight.
so lucky to have to be in there.
Did who?
You know what bill list, Daryl, that I had laid up here? I had my bill list up here. Mm-hmm.
Should be. Why? What?
Motion to come back from executive session.
We have a motion to come out of executive session by Laura Armstrong, and a second by Lance Lehman. Pat Jones, are you still there? Okay, all in favor of coming out of executive session, say aye. Opposed? Okay, we're back in regular session. My understanding is that there is no action to be taken as a result of executive session. It was a briefing to council. So that will take us on to item 62, the bill list, and we'll go to Finance Director Pauline Sumption.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are no additions to the bill list that's attached. The total remains at $12,152,474.98.
Motion to approve, Solomon, second by Lehman. All in favor of approving the bill list, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Any objection to adjournment? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.